Hey, so here is going to be my review on Golden Sun. So I finished it. This was before I started, reading and then doing a review like halfway through the book. I've just finished the entire book. Or I finished the entire book. It was like maybe a week ago. So I let the ending kind of marinate a little bit, and I did buy the third book right away. So whenever I get halfway through this, expect an update for it. This is just a receipt from Barnes and Noble? Yeah, Barnes and Noble. I mean, look at this man. He's like, come on, you want to read this book. He actually looks better now with longer hair and a beard. I really wish I can grow a beard. But Golden Sun, spoiler-free review at the very beginning, and I will say when I'm going to be getting into spoilers. But for now, spoiler-free as best as I can. So Golden Sun, at first, even with Red Rising, I was wondering if it was sci-fi or fantasy. It was like, is this sci-fi or fantasy? It's both. It's sci-fi fantasy, and that's its own little subgenre, but yes. Also, this is book 2, so there might be some spoilers all around for the first book, even though this is still spoiler-free review territory. With that being said, we are no longer playing games, even though in the first one the games were pretty messed up to begin with. I've heard people say that they compared this book to Ender's Game, but I haven't read Ender's Game, so I can't even say if that's a good analogy. They also compared the first book to Game of Thrones and The Hunger Games, but even then, it's a little different. The closest thing I can compare this book to, not even compare it to, this book has like some references or it takes inspiration from Dune. But in here, we've graduated, right? And it's a completely like new stakes, right? We're no longer in the academy. We're actually a lancer, or Darrow is actually a lancer for Augustus. If you've read the first book, this is a position that he absolutely wanted to be. So with that being said, I thought this book was going to be a lot of espionage and politics. It does have politics in there, but the power plays, the large scale power plays that happen in this book and the pace in which it happens is really, it's pretty good. It's basically naval warfare, but in space. I mean, granted, I've never read anything about naval warfare. This is actually the first book I've read about any type of naval space kind of warfare. So with that being said, it's pretty awesome. I don't know what other naval spaceship specific warfare, I mean, Ender's Game books there are, or how many there are, or which one would be a good one. But, dipping my toes into that kind of subgenre, it's really good. Returning characters like the Jackal and Mustang, the decisions they make in this book reflect the kind of characters they were in the first one, with the Jackal just wanting power through any means necessary, and Mustang pretty much just wanting to do the right thing and lead the Golds in the right direction. But that's the problem. She wants to lead the golden people. And I'll be honest, I like a lot of the new characters, pretty much every new character, and even some of the old characters. But there were some old characters that I just straight up forgot what they did. So when anything happens with them or the decisions that they make, I don't know if it would have hit harder had I read Rising and then immediately gone into this one, because I read Rising like a year ago and then I read this one like a week ago. So I'm like having trouble remembering, hey, who is this character and what did she did and why do I give a shit? The writing style is a bit artsy. Not artsy in the sense that he's trying to use smart words and all that stuff, but he's trying to use the author. He's trying to use pretty words, not necessarily because he wants to use them, but because it's who he is. It's his culture, his ethnicity, or where he's from. So that criticism isn't fair. It's like reading Harry Potter and wondering why they're all so British. I mean, it's in England, and the author, from what I know, he's Scottish. All right, Google is saying that he is not Scottish. I mean, I could have sworn that he had a Scottish accent. Now I'm getting a Scottish. Anyway, I could have sworn that he had a Scottish accent because I heard him doing an interview with a Scottish accent, and the audiobook for this, I mean, he's Scottish, so he's a he's Scottish, and all the golds are British, like they have a British or English accent. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is Scottish and British characters will have Scottish and British words, and that kind of adds to the whole fancy schmanchiness of the writing and the description of things that happen in this book. It's not a bad thing whatsoever. So as far as the plot, I mean, the plot is quick and it is violent. Not violent as in visceral, but violent as in like in a mass situation. Hey, we need to move now because this person will do this kind of way. I know it doesn't make sense because I feel like I'm tiptoeing around what I actually want to say. As far as my my overall thoughts for the non-spoiler review, right? It's a very good book. I mean, it feels like that's all I can say. The ending left me wanting more too, as you can see. As soon as I finished it, I went and bought this from Barnes & Noble. Usually I like to go to half-price books or find a good deal on the internet, but no, I bought this right away. And also, I prefer hardbacks. This is a regular trade paperback. And I have the deluxe edition. So I really like this series so far, and I'm just barely finished book 2. So with that being said, I gave Red Rising a 90. Golden Sun gets a 95. So that's it for my spoiler-free review. I think I babbled and tiptoed around everything that I wanted to talk about. So spoiler warning, I'm going to go into spoilers, heavy spoilers. All right, here it is. Final warning. This is where I'm going to talk about spoilers. I'm going to leave this here for a little bit. The ending to this book was Red Wedding level of an ending. Not the book. I haven't read Game of Thrones, even though I have Game of Thrones up there. So I'm comparing this to the show of Game of Thrones when it had the Red Wedding, where everybody was getting killed left and right. I mean, it literally had Darrow looking like Arya Stark from like the Red Wedding or something like that, where she was the only one that survives, but barely. But man, I don't even know where to start now that we're in spoiler territory, because I'll say this is the last Kindle version book and then physical copy book that I'm gonna get. I think I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna do away with the whole Kindle version and doing the highlights there, because I really do prefer hardcover copies. It just makes me read it and be able to enjoy the book more because it's an actual book. But I realized that, and I started doing that legit halfway through the book. So let me just pull up my Kindle for now. So part 1, bow. Sit leones. Hit sunt leones. I've been mumbling that throughout my day-to-day activities sometimes. Even when I go to work out, I'm like, sit leones, and then I go work out. But here be lines. They say that a lot, especially in the audiobook. Oh, and I did get the graphic audio version 1 and 2. I like the graphic audio. I like, the background noises, the music, the sound effects. But I think I do prefer when they go, Darrow said this and Jackal said that. Because sometimes, even though they're different people, they kind of sound the same, or they kind of have the same register, and I have no idea who said what. And they'll take away who said what, and they also won't I don't know. It's just little minor things that they don't add or they take away that it just, in my head, I want to get the full thing. So I forget how old Darrow actually is. He's 20 in this. 20. I think, wasn't he like 12 when he was married and EO died? Okay, so Mustang and Darrow's relationship. From the very beginning, I didn't even know that they actually ended up together, and now you're telling me that they broke up? Oh my god. And then when she shows up to that party that Darrow's supposed to blow up, and then she actually stops him from, I think it was from killing Cassius. I thought there was hope. I legit thought there was hope. And then the ending of this book, that part where she leaves, but then she comes back in not the best way, where you can actually tell how far gone these people are. It's like it's hard to describe, really. Oh, and Roke. Don't even get me started on Roke. The biggest things with Roke is I was surprised when Darrow actually stabbed him in the neck, right, with a tranquilizer and knocks his ass out, but then didn't go through with the bomb. He actually did a really badass thing, which on top of that, oh my. So Darrow tranquilizes Roke to keep him from dying, and then when he goes, he backs out of actually pulling the trigger, and then he has, oh, I'm gonna do this instead, and I'm gonna challenge fucking Cassius to a battle, because guess what? I've been training for months with the universe's, with the galaxy's best swordsman, Lorne, so I can easily just whoop his ass if he challenges me to a duel. So why wasn't that the plan from the very beginning? Don't get me wrong, that was a badass scene. But I find it stupid, the whole bomb thing, I find it stupid if you were just going to do that to begin with. Or you were planning that. If you had that in your back pocket, why stress about the bomb? I don't know. But anyway, there's Tactics, the fucking douchebag. Tactics, just, I don't like Tactics as a character. Like, he's supposed to be a character you don't like, and in which case, mission accomplished. But yes, that type of person just doesn't vibe. Victra. So Victra, I did not remember Victra, but we're still here in the very beginning. He's doing some kind of games to where they take over ships without damaging them because they're super crazy expensive. And I'm like, there is always a backup plan. So with all this technology, you're telling me all it takes for you to disappear is just turn the engine off? Because I'd have to assume that the reason that blip came up to begin with was because they turned it on, used the thrusters to go directly to Darrow's ship, but as they hit the thrusters, they turned it off so that they wouldn't know which way they were coming from. Which in that case, yes, it's smart, but it's stupid because you'd think you'd be able to detect something headed towards your ship in space, like an asteroid that doesn't have any technology. So if you see an asteroid going straight to you, you're fucked. Anyway, back to Victra. Victra, I did not remember her from the first book at all. She was a little sketchy. I mean, granted, people always thought that she was sketchy, and by nature, or by, I guess, how her character is, yes, she is sketchy. I wouldn't have trusted her. But it turns out, hey, she was a real one. She was a real one till the very end. This part, the spit tube part. So I knew that was going to come back. I knew it was going to come back, and then I forgot about it. And then when it came back, I was like, yes, I knew that was going to happen. But this part with the spit tube where he just gets loaded up and he's ready to launch himself, a one-man army, to this ship, I was in 100%, and I also got blue-balled. Yeah, like he did. He said, he yells, no, and because they like shut it down. So they shut him down. I feel like that's a form of cheating, to where I'm surprised nobody actually tried to cheat that way, to where, oh, you're going to do a certain thing, but, you know, the house of the enemy person that you're trying to destroy or you're trying to beat, they actually sabotage you in some way like they did in the first book. But anyway, Karnas actually ends up winning this by ramming a beat up ship to Darrow's ship, which he destroyed his ship. Feel like he should have gotten some repercussions for that, but hey, nepotism, I guess. And here it is, Roke being such a good friend. It's not victory that makes the man, it's his defeats. You think our ancestors never lost, you need to huff and puff about. He's a good friend, which makes his betrayal at the very end of this book even that more like sour. It makes it even more sour because that's the opposite of sweet. Or stings. It makes it just stings all around. Oh, also Severo. Let's talk about Severo. Again, major spoilers. If you're skipping or you decide to go to the middle of the video for whatever reason, I knew that reading this book, I knew there was something with Severo of how he's willing to be so loyal. I kind of half expected him to be a red, but I did not expect Fitchner to be Aries. And the whole thing with Mustang, when she said all their stories about how some golds fell in love with reds and then they went to this to get a carver to make them have offspring, but then they got, they were stopped or they were killed. I thought Mustang was on board. So when she flipped the switch at the end of the book, I was pissed. Not pissed at the book, pissed in the right way where the book was trying to make you feel. Oh, but yeah, there's that part. That was wild. All right, so next character that's introduced in this book or that I'm going to talk about is Karnas. I almost forgot his name. Karnas, Goliath. And this part right here, Goliath the Breaker, Goliath the Sun Killer, Goliath the Savage. I was like, damn, that's a badass name. And this dude is scary. But there was a certain camaraderie between them where they could have been cool had things been different with the whole Julius and Cassius situation. Let me go back to my face cam because I'm afraid of getting some copyright thing, even though I have the Kindle up. But yeah, when Karnas jumps Darrow while he's taking a shower after his defeat, and then that leads to him basically almost being disowned by the arch governor, I was like, yo, this was not how it was supposed to go. I thought this was going to be more secret espionage stuff, but this guy has to fight to get back on top. Oh, and Pliny, that little piece of shit. The new Littlefinger, the new Snape, maybe? No, he's not Snape. Nowhere near Snape. I'm not a Snape apologist. I still think Snape is fucking weird. I hate that I do kind of understand him, but Pliny, fuck this guy. He's the one for ruining reputations. He's the one for whispers. He's the one that, controls little strings here and there, even though he's not in power. Those are the dangerous one. And that is what I thought this book was going to be about. And I also thought Jacko was going to do way more than he actually did, but he made up for that at the end of this book. Holy. Oh yeah, also the Sons of Ares, they're bombing things the way that they're not usually bombing things, and that whole split of the Ares things where it was not Dancer, I forget what that other name, Harmony was her name. That was unexpected. But if you're talking about parallels to the real world, that's a real world thing where this group that started with good intentions splits off and then are doing a bunch of bad stuff. I'm not going to go into specifics. I'm not trying to get too real, but yes. So we're back to Darrow is about to get sold off to his contracts is going to be given to somebody else at a party. Before that, Darrow goes and talks with the Jackal. And during his meeting, he runs into the Pink that was in the Sons of Ares. But during his meeting with the Jackal, there's this one part here. This is the Jackal saying that, I know, but I'm so glad you get my jokes. So many prickly, peerless these days, duels, honor, blood, all because they're bored. There's no one left to fight. So gory, damn tedious. I believe you were making a point. So I'm probably reading too much into this, but the Jackal pretty much lined it up to where civil war makes sense. There's no one left to fight, so they're bored and their tensions are between the houses, and Darrow used that to create a whole ass civil war, which was using that as an angle to get back into power. Awesome writing from this guy right there. And honestly, I like the interactions between Darrow and the Jackal. The Jackal as a villain, he's devious, he is grimy, but he is a badass villain. Like as far as villains go, he is a villain. And the best villains make the best points. He's saying here Cassius was shamed, but then he rose to power. He's like, you're Achilles, he'll be Odysseus, but Achilles dies at the end. He's very cunning. He's a cunning villain. Like I said, he up and down. He's a villain. Evie, that's the person that's in Ares that is there to basically bomb the Jackal. They try to bomb the Jackal And Darrow's like, hey, I need him. So he saves him. So now there's this tension between him and these people from Ares. And in hindsight, that's where you get the sense that they aren't really, that they don't really know exactly what they're doing. They are like seriously just bombing people left and right, thinking that'll help. And they actually convinced Darrow. Holy, I forgot about this. They convinced Darrow to go with the, bombing because of what they showed him about EO's departure. I don't know how much into the weeds I can get. Let me take that off just in case. I don't know how much, like what specifically I can talk about without getting demonetized or whatever. But yes, the way they convinced Darrow to do that at the party, or to attempt to do that at the party, by showing him the hollow of what EO said, that she was, with child, that she was pregnant. Oh my God. Like, of course you would do that. Of course you would do that. Because essentially Darrow is getting over his wife because of Mustang. So how do you spark that motivation for him to try to take down the Golds? You do that she was pregnant. So yeah, we're at a party. Darrow's kind of intermingling with people. He sees Mustang with Cassius. I think at some point he talks to Karnas. He's about to go through with pulling the trigger or the detonator. And then it says right here, I wipe my tears from my face, anger replaced by purpose. There must be another way, a better way. I've seen the cracks in their society. I know what I must do. I know what the Golds most feel. And it has nothing to do with the Reds rising. It has nothing to do with bombs or plots or revolution. What terrifies the Golds is simple, cruel, and as old as mankind itself. Oh, you can't see it because of me, but civil war. All right, so Darrow, instead of, hitting the clicker, he does what I love to see the most in movies, shows, video games, and books. He crashes out. He jumps on the table. He kicks wine over Cassius' lap. He makes a whole show of it before he does it. And the duel is on. But before the duel, he talks to Nero, our Augustus. He talks to Augustus, his leader, his whatever. And he grabs him. This is Augustus. This is Darrow's palm. He grabs Augustus and he puts him right there by talking about his son. That let me avenge your son. Let me take over. Let me be your sword. And then the fight is on. And you think it's neck and neck. And then it's like Cassius has him on the ropes and he's tired and he's like, oh my God, like he's scared. But then he stops faking that he's out of breath. Because Cassius is telling him that nobody will care if you die. And then he says, Lorne Au Arcos will care if his last student dies. They say he's never taken a student, but he made an exception for Darrow. Says, while you ate, I trained. While you drank, I trained. While you sought pleasure, I trained. From the weeks after the institute to the days before the academy. So I don't know, like a summer. And then he says, did you think I came here to be killed? Did you? Well, yes. You came here with a device attached to you, Darrow. What the fuck is this confidence thing coming from? Anyway, he says the coldest thing. I came here to cut you down before your parents. And that's not even the coldest thing he says while he basically is toying with Cassius. Also, that's another thing I want to talk about. The action scene in this book is really, really, like the way they're written. I like them. I can follow them. They're easy flowing. They're kind of different than the Mistborn books, because the Mistborn I was kind of like, I had trouble tracking what was going on. But I like the action scenes here. But basically, after he cuts down Cassius, like Cassius is like on the ground and he's still alive. Like, these are some of the highlights from the fight. I stop and move backward fluidly, posing with the whip as it slithers into a curved sling blade. I embarrass him. Your son is going to die, I say savagely, a foot away from his face to the Emperor Bologna, to the head guy. Will you just watch? I shouted to Bellona. Lady Bellona, are you noble enough to watch your Cassius die? Watch as he disappears from the world. Is this the strength of the Bellona? Do you watch like sheep as the wolf comes among the fold? He's goading them. He's egging them on to try to get them to do this conflict that would trigger a civil war. And had Darrow not originally been going to the click, like, that would have been genius. But I feel like all of this kind of happened on accident. That doesn't stop it from being badass. But anyway, the Sovereign actually tells him to stop, which is a no-no. Like, everybody is seeing that the Sovereign is now on a power trip and she needs to be taken down a few notches. And then Darrow continues to just do the most awesomely ruthless thing. And he says he presses the button to make the razor contract. With the sound of a frozen tree branch cracking in the winter, I claim the sword arm of Cassius Al Bellona. I mean, hell yeah, but like this is a sci-fi thing. Like, they can put his arm back. But that was badass. That was awesome. And of course, at the end, he shows up. I don't think they mention if Cassius has a robot arm at the end of it or not. I don't think so, but he has an arm back because he was seen fighting something. And then all the golds just bum rush and they start to fight because Mustang actually stopped it. Mustang actually had it under control, but then some other person tried to kill Darrow, and then all hell breaks loose. They just bum rush each other. It's like that scene from Twilight when people thought that dad vampire was like got decapitated. But like way better. Also, side note real quick, fuck Cassius's mother. The description of when she was refusing to eat and she became super like spidery because she didn't want to eat anything but Darrow's heart. She wanted cannibalism. It's just that I don't know what to describe it, like saltiness. It's that witchiness. The very villainy thing about that is just, okay, yeah, Darrow's mom, she has to go. No, not Darrow's mom. Cassius's mom. It looks like she's going to be a major villain if she didn't die. I think she died. So as they were trying to escape after this whole beginning of the Civil War, Darrow actually gets taken to the Sovereign. They talk. They have this Gunjabar type of game communication thing with like eels that'll poison you if you tell a lie. And Darrow actually got the Sovereign. Got her bitch ass. We meet Lysander there when Darrow's talking to the Sovereign. Of course, the Sovereign's trying to get Darrow to her side, but Darrow's like, fuck you. And we also properly meet Aja. And Aja, I like Aja. Aja is a villain, and she's like, she's a villain that you love to hate. But like I'm trying to just find somebody like who I can compare her to. Hela from Thor Ragnarok. She was a powerful villain, but she was a villain straight up. Aja is more of like, she's powerful, but you kind of like it. The closest thing I can think of as far as her vibe and the love that I have for her deep down, like the allure of her is close to Lady Dimitrescu. But yeah, I just like Aja as a character and as a villain. I say villain because she's just opposing Darrow. If Darrow went to the Sovereign, I'm pretty sure Aja would have been like a good ally. But she's actually brutal, and I do like. I was upset when she punched Quinn a bunch of times in the head. Oh, I forgot several steals the kid, the grandchild of Lorne, Lysander. So you can see why Aja would have been brutal or felt like she had to be brutal, because she is. I don't know. I like Aja. Okay, so when Darrow escapes the moon base of where he was talking to the Sovereign, he takes over one of the Sovereign's ship. He actually is successful in taking over one of the Sovereign's ship, like the biggest ship that she has, right? That actually tips the scales of power to his side. And we get maybe my favorite character in the whole book in that ship, Ragnar, which pretty much, yes, this makes sense, is Kratos, but with blue and white hair. And the way he sounds in the graphic audio, because I did get the graphic audio version of these books, it, like, even though I said I prefer the regular version of audiobooks because they said they add things like he said, she said, the way he sounds in the audiobook, the graphic audio, and the way every time he speaks, it's in bold letters. I might get the full graphic audio of Morning Star just because of Ragnar. I will come to meet you and your companion, godchild. Okay, that sounded like I sounded like Nosferatu, Bill Skarsgård, kind of. Not even, just a regular Dracula. I try to make a bad impression of Dracula, but Ragnar is the GOAT. Oh yeah, the blues. I kind of like the blues, like the blue people from the ship, like the blue citizens, and Orion. I like Orion, like from the one that took over as the ship lead. Oh, and Darrow puts Victra in the sister zone. That was crazy. That was funny. Anyway, like towards the, like around chapter, 24 to like 30, that's when he mends his relationship with Mustang. And this is where he starts to make moves. He starts to try to steal ships just to gain power, and he actually succeeds at the end. But we all know how the ending really went. I think that's it. I pretty much touched on everything I wanted to talk about. Actually, here, plans within plans within plans. That's a Dune reference if I've ever seen one. I think there's another reference to something else somewhere around this book. Just a bunch of good quotes all around. So yes, I started annotating in my book, my hard copy, my physical copy at chapter 24. Oh, Darrow gets Lorne Arcos. Not really gets him to join, but kind of almost half manipulates him. But Lorne actually ended up helping him, like, properly, even though he had every right to be like, hey, go fuck yourself. Old Man's Wrath. I forgot this chapter. And of course, with the chapter title, you knew what was going to happen after Tactus did some fuck shit. And of course, after Tactus died, they try to make us feel bad for Tactus because there's a little subplot with the violin that he actually never sold it, that he actually bought it back and then tried to use it, but whatever. So in the book, page 290, it mentions that Darrow whispered the name of another girl, which I'm assuming is Io, while he was with Mustang, and I'm like, that should have raised suspicion and got you in more trouble than it should have. I mean, it was in the past, so it doesn't really say what happened, but yeah. But all this mending the relation just for her to, pull a gun on him. Oh my God. So Ragnar, him just being my favorite character, he's like, no, I need to be your servant. And then Darrow's like, no, you don't need to be my servant. I'm actually a red. He tells him the truth, and Ragnar actually decides to trust him after knowing the truth, unlike Mustang. Because Mustang is privileged and Ragnar is not. Oh, when they come after Pliny finally and kill his ass. I wish Darrow would have done it, but like, leave him to the wolves. I also like when he says here, like, who do you know that can kill me? The Jackal failed. Antonia failed. Proctor Apollo and Jupiter failed. Cassius Albellona failed. Carnus failed. Cagney failed. Aja, Grimace, and her Praetorians failed. I mean, when you got a point, you got a point. No. I dropped one of my annotations. And it says here, yes, Darrow, if Ragnar dies, I'm going to be pissed. We'll get to that in a second. Oh, I just caught one of my highlights. So Roke being upset that Quinn died, and then at some point, I'm sure, finding out that Darrow was a red, that would have, tipped them over the edge. So I kind of get it, but it doesn't make it any better. So the whole section where they're taking off Mars, it's a lot. I have a lot of highlights, but I'm just going to say, like, hey, the whole taking over Mars, just top notch. And there's a running scene. There's a part where he takes off his suit and he just starts running to try to catch up to the Sovereign. And I just love a good running scene. And the graphic audio really did it justice. Oh, before that, when Ragnar says to Gold, like, hey, yield, and he's like, no. And I'm like, all right, then die like dirt. Badass. Also, the whole kind of like subplot of Darrow giving Ragnar a razor, and I didn't know that was specifically a golden weapon, and it's sacrilege to have another color have that weapon. But yeah, Thistle, and how people think of what Darrow's doing about with the razor, that is just, you can see how embedded in their ways the Golds are, because like, hey, you're not a Gold, you can't touch that. Like, get out of here. Yep, right here, page 362. That's where the running scene starts, and I really like it. So he runs and actually makes it to the Sovereign ship with like 6 or several Golds in there. And of course, in the ship, that's where we find out that Fitchner is actually Ares. I was both surprised and not surprised at the same time. Like, I knew it, but I didn't know. It's just, I should have known type of thing. So the exact line where I saw it coming, of where Fitchner not necessarily was Ares, but was on their side. Well, yeah, that he was Ares, was when Darrow calls him Uncle Nero. And of course he says, Fitchner says, you bloody damn fool. Then after that is to reveal that Several is half red, and that's why he's so loyal. And so on page 386, when they're breaking some of the Ares people from where the Jackal had him prisoner, and they do this whole fake rescue when Darrow fake protects Jackal. And it says here, the Jackal said, you underestimate them, my friend. They can pull triggers too, and they would have pulled them with their muzzles against our heads if you hadn't stopped them. So right there, I feel like that's when the Jackal figured it out. I can't remember exactly if that's what the Jackal said at the end, but I have an annotation here where it's like, is this really the Jackal from the first book? I feel like he should have been on to Darrow at this point. I don't know, but turns out he was on to Darrow, and he is smarter than he lets on. Yes, and on page 393, this is where Mustang is talking to Darrow about colors and their rights and the whole falling in love with another color. Oh, never mind. This is Fitchner saying what happened with Several's mother. Never mind. But at that point, I thought Mustang knew about Darrow being a red, and the big reveal at the end was that she knew all along. But nope. And she even says before they go into Darrow's mom's house that how far do you want to go? And she's like, all the way. All the way. You better be sure. And she wasn't, of course. Also, when they said Nero is dead, or Darrow's mom said that Nero is dead, I'm like, I don't believe it until I see a body. So Mustang's gone, but she actually used her tracker to lead Several and Ragnar away, but turns out Ragnar actually stayed, Mustang stayed, and now there's a standoff. And that's where I was like, if Ragnar dies, I'm going to be pissed, because that whole scene was so tense. And also what Ragnar says, he lives for his sisters, he lives for his brother, basically proving to Mustang that, hey, he has feelings and he has purpose, not just the Golds. Like, I think at that point, hopefully that is where Mustang finally realizes the error of the Gold's way. Like, the Gold being at the top is, like, not the best. Like, I don't think Mustang is too far gone to be like, hey, you need to do the right thing. But Augustus needs to go. He's on a power trip. So, yeah, now we're here at the end of the book, the last few pages. They freaking red weddinged it, and to put the cherry on top of the red wedding cake, Fitchner, Ares, he's in the box. He's in the box. And in my notes, I even wrote bloody damn son of a bitch. Aries, the one hope we had, the one man who picked me up when I was broken and gave me a chance for something better than revenge, has been butchered, and I know we are undone. Yeah, so as soon as I read that, I closed the book, got in my car, and bought Morning Star. So that was my review for Golden Sun. And I did read the first few pages of Morning Star, and it already, oh my God. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm going to wait till I get to that. But anybody who's watching, hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a good one, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, I gave this a 98%. Or no, 95%. 95. See ya.